Today we're going to be learning about value. When we're doing this, you will need your sketchbook, your pencil, your pen, your map board, which came in your art kit, or you could use a ruler or a straight edge. As you take notes through this video, remember that you can pause as needed if you need more time to complete any section. We can define value as the amount of light cast on an object which determines the lightness or darkness of the tones. White is the lightest of the tones and black is the darkest. We use the scale below to visually see how the grays align. Black is on the left and white is on the right. When you are drawing, the tool you are using can heavily change your method of making value. When you're using a pencil, you will have to press harder to get darker values and lighter to get lighter values. When you're using a pen, you're going to focus on how frequent the marks are, meaning you might have to do multiple layers to get the darkness that you're looking for. This is an example of an empty value scale which you will use and create on your own sketchbook paper. Here I'm going to show you how to use your map board to use as a straight edge to create your value scales. Here I'm doing 2 lines for each value scale. These are going to be the top and the bottom. Then you're going to turn your map board and do vertical lines, which are going to be the ends. The next step you are going to do is to divide up your value scale. I suggest finding the middle, then dividing each side in half until you get the desired number of squares. Here I'm using 9. I guesstimated on mine, but I suggest that you make yours as even as you can. The next technique we're going to look at is called hatching. It is when you add value using repeated lines in the same direction that are side by side. So you can do vertical lines here, you could do diagonal lines or horizontal lines. You want to make sure that you note that as you are going along, again, if you do more hatching, it will become darker and less will be lighter. We're on to the first technique. So I'm going to do hatching, and I'm labeling my scale so I know what technique I'm doing. Then I'm going to begin doing my lines repeated side by side. I'm going to use darker lines on the left hand side and lighter lines on the right hand side. When I'm using my pencil here, I'm pressing hard, but you can also layer them up. So if you did 1 layer, it would be light. If you did 5 layers, it would be dark. So you can keep that in mind as you're going as well. And I'm just going to fill in my scale. Please keep in mind that this clip is clearly sped up, so it didn't take me a minute to complete this. It took me about 3 to 5. So keep that in mind while you're working. Don't try and rush because some techniques will take longer and some will take shorter. Just make sure that you're doing your best work. Next, we're moving on to cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is adding value by using repeated lines in multiple directions. So that means you're going to layer up your lines. You can do vertical lines with diagonal lines. You can do vertical lines with horizontal. It doesn't matter, as long as they crisscross, you're good. Then you're going to do the same thing, adding your value from the darkest on the left and the lightest on the right. Here I'm starting my cross-hatching. I'm writing my label again. Then I'm switching to a pen so you can see the difference between a pen and a pencil. With the pen, you have to remember to layer your drawings. So instead of being able to press harder, I have to do 3 to 4 layers to get the darkness that I want, whereas with a pencil I could just press really hard. Keep that in mind as you go all the way across the scale. When you get towards the right side of the scale where it's lighter, your lines get less frequent, which means that they can spread out and they get lighter. So they're not as compact as they were before. Our next technique is called stippling. It's when you use dots to add value. The more dots, the more it will be darker. The less dots, the lighter the area. Keep in mind that for stippling, this one will take you the longest because the dots are so tiny and you have to layer them up. This video is only about a minute, but in total it took me about 5 minutes, so make sure that you budget at least 5 minutes to get all of the scale done. Again, I'm layering up the dots, starting with the left box and then moving on my way to the right. Keep in mind that as you're filling out this scale or any of them, you can always go back to the left and add more to even it out. You'll see me do this towards the end of the clip where I am spreading out the dots towards the right, but then I realize the middle ones kind of look similar, so I go back and add some more dots to the left ones so that they even out to the ones. Scumbling is our next type of value technique. Scumbling is when you use a scribble motion to add the value. So you're going to have more scribble on the left hand side to get a darker value, and you're going to have less and spread out scribbles when you do the right. With scumbling, you need to keep in mind that you really have to layer up the values when you're working across the scale. So you can see I fill out one square, and that's with like one layer. Now I'm moving on and I'm going over top of that first layer and it's getting darker and darker. I'll do that until I get the desired darkness in this square and then move on to the next. You can do that across the whole scale, being sure to spread out the scribbles so that it looks lighter and less dense.